All right, so welcome to my YouTube channel. Starting a podcast, which I don't have a name for it, but basically we're going to be bringing on different athletes, such as Joey, and talking about their lives, their soccer lives, and about mindset, failure, a bunch of different great topics that's really going to help you guys out. So let's get into it. Joey, welcome to the podcast, the very first episode.
What's up? It's good to be on.
It's gonna be a fun one. Joey and I have a very close relationship. We work together pretty much every day. We've been doing it for
every day for
every 3 years now.
3 years, maybe a little hiatus in the middle there somewhere.
Yeah, a little bit, which we'll definitely get into. But we know each other very well, so it's gonna be a really good podcast.
Yeah.
We share a lot of the same beliefs and mindset and stuff. So
For sure.
let's get into it. So I'll talk a little bit about Joey. So Joey, from Cincinnati, Ohio, but his parents are originally from Newcastle, England. His whole family's from Newcastle, England, so he's a first-generation American. Growing up in Cincinnati, been playing soccer since probably 3 or 4 years old, probably before.
I can remember, yeah.
So really early, and he's a huge Newcastle fan. Whole family's a huge Newcastle fan, absolute diehards.
Diehards.
So he grew up, played club soccer, played rec soccer when he was young, and then we played high school soccer together at Anderson for 3 years, and then Joey went over to England after high school to go to university, played for the school team there and for a couple different clubs, I know that, and then COVID happened, he came back, he was here for a little bit, then he went to the Marines for about, 9 months or
somewhere around there, yeah.
And then he left the Marines, now he's back, he's been back for, it's probably been about a year now.
It's a little over a year, yeah.
Yeah, so he's just been grinding here, and then he's about to actually go back to England in early September with
Part two
with our other friend, Joey Biscani, who's there right now, and go back to school, play over there, and so we're just going to get right into it. So I want to ask you this, Joey. You work out every day.
Every day, twice a day.
Twice a day.
Twice a day.
It's every day, right?
There's never a day off.
There is no days off. And so, why? Why do
I work out?
Why do you work out, and why is it such an important thing in your life?
Well, if you take it back to the beginning, if we go all the way back to the roots. So I grew up, obviously parents, fantastic. However, culture in the household was always, food was looked at as, a reward. And I think that, unfortunately, because I had such a fantastic family, such a great lifestyle, that I was very lazy. That's absolutely certain. Very entitled, thought I deserved everything, thought I had the biggest nuts out there, and was a pretty chubby kid. Pretty chubby, pretty fat. Went through puberty really, really young, so I was absolutely massive at a young age. I mean, we're talking, I was this height now, which I'm not that tall, but I was 5'10" when I was 11, right? So I was absolutely enormous, weird looking kid. But yeah, pot belly. Was the kind of athlete that is so funny because it's the opposite now. Was the kind of athlete that entirely relied on my own skill and almost no work, which is flipped completely now. So yeah, I was this fat, shitty kid who had no motivation, no drive, thought he deserved everything. And then I would say, to all the craziness that happens, there was a coach I had in high school that, for better or for worse, pushed me to a point where, should a kid be pushed that far physically? I don't know. But he pushed me to a point where it sort of clicked in my head, and I was like, you know what, I'm not taking this bullshit no more. I'm going to get in shape. And then from then on, it was day by day. Maybe I worked out 2 or 3 times a week. Maybe I did an extra run at night. And then it sort of did this cumulative building block. And then as you fall down the route of fitness, you run into people like David Goggins and you fall into the mindset. And it starts to become more than just working out. It starts to become a lifestyle. And then I think, personally, I started doing this thing where I had an Instagram, right? And I used to post on my story. And I used to post, I went for a run. And then it started to become like, I post me working out, then the food I was eating. And then it became its own accountability. And then it was like, well, shit, I can't let myself down. So I was almost working out just to prove to people that I was working out. Which is not a bad, when you really think about it, it's not a terrible thing because at the end of the day, you're in the gym, right? Or you're playing soccer. So that spiraled more and more. And then it just came to a point where it wasn't even about the workout. It wasn't even about soccer anymore. It was, how far can I push this? How uncomfortable can I get? How much bigger can I get? And where is the line where it gets, wow, this is impressive or this is ridiculous? I think I love towing that line, like waking up on a Christmas day and be like, I'm going to run a marathon. And then just going and running a marathon and coming back destroyed. I mean, can't bend my knees. It was 15 degrees. I have wind rash all at my legs because it was ridiculous. And I'm laying there on the floor at 9 a.m, parents being like, this is ridiculous. I want to go that far. I want to be that uncomfortable. And I think more people maybe not go that far, but should adopt something like that.
I love it. And I've firsthand seen that transformation over the few years. And I remember, Joey in high school, did not want to be pushed. And you talked about it, how when you were a freshman, sophomore, you didn't come to
for sure
workouts.
So we had this coach who was a fucking nut job. There's no doubt about it. It was a crazy man. However, he knew how to work out. He knew how to push people. He knew how to get uncomfortable. And I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the idea of going to the gym after school or doing conditioning. So I just didn't show up for a year and a half of all this stuff, which today sounds absolutely absurd, but that's just what my thought process. I was like, this is ridiculous. And it sort of turned to the opposite.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's good to realize and see how far and how much of a change in your mind that happened.
For sure.
It's crazy. I think a lot of people that I know look at you and they're like why? Yeah. Why does he do this? I can't believe the change that he's made. And it inspired me when he was talking about his Instagram, posting on his Instagram. And I first started seeing it in early 2020 when I was realizing that I needed to make big changes in my own life because I had been struggling for a while. And I was okay, I want to start doing what he's doing. And then eventually we ended up being back at the same time. So, we linked up and now we've been, putting in work for years. But yeah, it's just great to see the journey and how far you've come. So I want to bring it back to when you were younger, talk a little bit more about that. So what were some struggles and challenges that you had as a kid and how have you kind of overcome them over the years?
So that's a good question. What were the things that made my life difficult? I think everything, to be honest with you, was all about self-identity and being embarrassed. I think that was number one. If I could look back at anything, it's okay, I have parents that aren't from the US. Great. So any sort of social event, especially if you're in a place like the Midwest, you're in Ohio, whatever, there's a lot of parent-on-parent team dinners, family interactions, all that sort of sweet jazz. And my parents are not that kind of people, there's no problem with that. They're just not that kind of people. So that immediately, as a little kid, you sort of go, okay, I'm going to be an outsider in whatever social setting I'm going to be in from the get up, right? And then it was, maybe I looked different because I was so tall, right? I was so tall at such a young age. So I'm kind of I look like a freak, right? And maybe I wear different clothes. So I'm wearing a Newcastle kit every single day, no matter what. So there's kind of it's all about, man, I'm different. And unfortunately at that age, you don't look at that as a positive, you look at it as a negative. And, I'm getting, because I was saying earlier, I go through puberty so young. I have terrible acne in elementary school. Who has acne in elementary school, right? So you're your face is breaking out. Your middle school, you look like a dweeb. And so personally, that's where it all sort of stemmed from, was insecurities, absolutely. And it's like, it's funny because I think I take out on people who have insecurities the most. Obviously, it's that thing where you take out what your biggest fears are.
Mm.
So, do I think I've overcome those things? Probably not entirely, but I think I've put up a pretty good wall, or at least a mask enough to be like, look, I'm moving past it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so maybe it's like, great, I don't have acne anymore. Now I have a great tan.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, is there really a difference? Do I still think of myself as that fat little kid from time to time? Of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think no one really gets over their like own childhood issues, but I think that they can like work towards it and get improvement. So
for sure.
Probably that was my
Yeah.
things that I think were bothersome when I was young. But at the same time, I mean, talk about an easy childhood.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
And that's probably why that
Again, yeah.
felt so comfortable.
Of course.
And then now we've seen. I mean, you've completely broken out of that
Of course.
comfortness. But I think it's a lot of. I think a lot of people though that have easy childhoods, they are entitled, and they are entitled for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And they never live up to what they could be.
They never want to see what it's like on the other side.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
they don't. They're asleep.
Mhm.
They haven't woken up yet, and I think
Absolutely.
we both have woken up completely. Because I was similar. I come from a good family, easy childhood. Like, obviously, I had my own problems. Like, I'm short. I wasn't, like, super, super athletic back in the day. You know, just kind of shy kid and stuff. And I also, the international thing, I mean, my dad's from Russia, so he doesn't understand.
Yeah, he's
like,
even more dissociated from everything than my parents
like,
are.
he doesn't, like, he's not friends with my parents' friends. Like, my mom is, but my dad is not. He's, like, completely different. He doesn't even want to be, you know? Like,
Yeah.
He just wants to do his own thing, which is fine. I love him, and, like, I like how he's like that, honestly. I'd rather have that than, like, some American dad who's, like, just annoying, but...
You respect it when you're older.
Yeah, for sure. And I think
sure.
that's a good thing to realize. So that's great. I really liked hearing about that. So now we're going to move up a little bit. Let's talk about Anderson.
Great,
Kind of
high school.
the whole, your career, the ups and downs, and then leading to that, the decision to move to England after
course.
high school.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
let's
yeah.
kind of get into that. And obviously, I spent years with you at Anderson, so I got to know you very well there.
Are we sticking strictly to sports? Should we have a little bit of like social?
Dude, you can talk about whatever.
Go for
you want.
anything? Because I think the social is 90% of it.
Yeah,
really,
let's get into it. Yeah.
So I think we'll lay all the chips on the table. I was definitely a strange kid in middle school, right? Strange kid. I mean, the way that our education system works where we are, it was these absolutely massive middle school that feeds into two smaller high schools, and middle school was such a weird time. Obviously, everyone's going through different changes and stuff. Sure. And then I went to the school we went to, Anderson. And I think, so I told myself before I started, I was like, look, I'm not going to be this weird kid, right? I'll be completely honest. I'll be like, I'm going to be the guy. I think I told myself that before I told myself that. Does that make sense? I think I subconsciously made that decision. And I think it was like so beneficial that at the exact time this is all happening, we get a new coach for a high school team, right? And I know nothing about high school sports. Nothing. Obviously, parents are English. They know nothing. I know nothing. So there's this new thing coming about. And like, you know, you can dress up high school sports or make it look terrible, whatever. But we had an absolutely exceptional coach come in and basically be a father figure with no rules, come in with 30 or 40 guys before you even start high school. So you rock into freshman year, the man already, right? You're on a team, you know people, you know the girls team, all that stuff. So you're kind of the guys already before you start high school. And then there's high school. We're obviously successful as a team. I mean, me and you, we're not playing on the first team. We're not playing on varsity, whatever. But, you know, our team is still fantastic. We're still around the guys, all that stuff. And then for me personally, I looked at high school all through the social aspect, right? So didn't give a shit about school, to be completely honest. There's a couple classes I cared about, but didn't care. Love girls, love talking to the boys, love talking shit. The full nine, exactly how American high school, the proms, the homecomings, all those went to. And I think that as bad as that probably sounds, I think that my ability to talk to others and socialize was probably developed through those years. So, you can kind of learn how to talk the shoes off a basketball player. Eventually, over time, you're able to build those skills. And then, so as we get older, our high school team progressively gets better and better. I mean, it's funny because all the groundwork for, I think, everything me and Teddy base our lives off of, and probably what this podcast will talk about mostly, was started there and through this coach.
Yeah.
It's all about accountability. How do you hold yourself to a certain standard? How do you rely on a brotherhood or
and just
culture?
What hard work actually is.
Absolutely.
He would literally say outwork. We're gonna outwork everybody in Ohio. Yeah. Every other team, we're gonna work harder than them.
And so, as maddening as it was, because I barely played a minute, it was like, God, I have to be a part of this.
Yeah.
This is my whole life. This is my culture, right?
Yeah.
This is everything. And you're going through high school, you're meeting the girls, you're having fun, you're doing all those things. And fortunate enough, I had a great social circle, which you really were kind of had your own thing going on.
Yeah,
we weren't that tight at all.
No, we weren't. No, for sure. I mean, George was always George, obviously super. The social skills part, the guy can talk to anybody. He was friends with everybody on the team. But yeah, different social circle. I was friends with some other people. I had a lot of other friends that went to Turpin just because they played on my club team. But yeah, I think that the social part. I mean, you were great and probably developed that from just could talk to anybody at school, didn't care, which
absolutely.
Honestly I think is gonna get you further in life than actually just really being caring about your classes. And
for sure, for sure.
So,
but then so we get to his class is about to graduate. They have another absolutely fantastic season. And then I because I had a lot of friends tied to his class, I kind of lose a good group of people, but at the same time, it kind of gave me time to think about myself and my future for that last year. And look, the grades were terrible. There's no question about it. I'm not getting into any schools that are worth a shit around here, right?
Yeah.
I'll lay it completely out. I'm not getting into anything. But there's this other avenue that I can pursue because my family's English, which is great. I have a citizenship in the UK. I can go be a foreigner in a different country and have a different experience rather than going to a community college and probably dropping out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I kind of went, okay, let's make that decision. I'm going to be able to go live in England. I'm going to be able to go to school. Now, did I think I was going to play soccer over there? Truthfully, not really until that previous summer going in.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you, after your senior year of high school,
I was pretty much done.
You were done. I mean, because your senior year, for you personally, didn't go great.
Yeah.
There was a new coach. You're not a fan of him. We know that. And
absolutely.
I think that was kind of the and you had stopped playing club because club was just hadn't worked out, and
big. But a lot of this stuff it's self-inflicted, right? And me and Teddy talk about this. A lot of the issues that I run into personally, right, is because I have a big ego, which is, there's no question about that. But at the same time, I think I have such a set way of doing things that I think are right, that maybe other people don't agree with. And I'm not willing to change if I don't believe that the change is good.
Yeah.
So I will run into walls. And those walls at that age were different coaches or teams or stuff like that.
That just didn't end up working out. So,
for sure.
Yeah. But again, you learn from it, and then you go to England.
And then I go to England, right? And so It is the summer, late fall, early fall of 2019.
Yeah.
2019. So I get there. So my soccer journey there is kind of interesting. I get there for the university, so it's Northumbria University in Newcastle. I get there and I'm at my grandparents' house because they obviously live there, and I'm like, look, I'm not done with soccer. So I start calling up teams at a level that I felt like, okay, I might be able to play here. So I think that it was the Northern League or the Northern Alliance, one of those two. Which, let's be honest, it's shit, right? It's a terrible level. But, however, it's still competitive. It's still good enough to be like, warrant kind of some respect.
Yeah.
And so I start cold calling teams as an 18-year-old American in England, which, as you can tell, 90% of them is going to be absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And a guy, I'm going to forget his name, but a guy was like, look, there's no way you're going to be on this team because the season's about to start and I have no idea who you are. But I'll give you the name of a guy who has a team, who might need a player, who might need a sub, whatever. So I get this guy's phone number, and this team's color code. So if you're from Newcastle, you know where that is. It's right on the edge of the water next to Whitley Bay. And it's this guy who's a fantastic guy, kind of a smooth talker. And him and his dad own this football club. And I go and I have a practice, and it was in this indoor 5v5 facility, and that's my kind of game, right? Mm-hmm. So and I remember like putting in, I never tackle, and I never tackle hard, and I put in this monster tackle on like a 6'1" big English guy, and he's swearing at me all this stuff. But I think that was the moment that I was like, okay, I'm gonna be on this team.
Yeah.
So I got on the team, and it's going well. And then school starts, and then the way that it works in England is they have like first, second, third team. And the first team's sort of picked already before the season starts because it's like...
And that's for like the university.
This is for the university, yeah. And that's for like, these elite foreigners that are coming in from Spain, and they're coming in from all sorts of different parts of Europe. And then there's like the second team, the third team, who are like from the university, and then... they have these open tryouts, right? Which, as you can tell, for a university that's 25,000 people big, an open tryout is ridiculous. So you get there and it's
especially
raining.
In the UK too, where like so many people play.
Yeah, it's
like here.
It's raining. This is the first day. It's pissing down rain. It's muddy, and you've got 10 games going on at the same time, right? And some of the games have people wearing shoes because it's like random Albanians that go to the university that don't care about anything, and they're just like, they're there to try out on the team. And then you've got people like me who's like, it's their entire life. Yeah. And like, we're all in this shit heap together. And I like scored, or I did something okay. And in England, they don't care, right? It's not like, hey, we're going to email you, like, whatever. They go, okay, everyone gather in, and you have a bib on with a number, and it's like, we're going to call out the numbers of the people who made it. And it was just like, you're just standing there like, looking at people's numbers, and I look down, I'm like 8. And they get through the whole list of people, and there's like 2 names, and he goes, 8. And I was like, oh, okay. And kind of like walked over, and I was like, there's no way. And I get on this team, and it's university football in England, so it's no one cares, no one goes to the games, no one gives a shit, but it's another in for the university. So I'm kind of doing both of these things at the same time. So I'm training like twice a week, sometimes twice a day, because like obviously they're not going to line up the schedules. And it's miserable. There's no doubt about it. Weather's terrible. I'm using public transport trying to get to practices. I got to practice on the coast at 7 o'clock, but I've got to practice after school at 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leaving practice soaking wet at 4:15 to get on the train that takes 2 hours to get to the practice. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's a slog. And at that point, me being 18, 19, undisciplined, right? I can work out all this stuff, but I'm not taking school seriously still, right? Because I didn't build up those building blocks when I was younger because I was lazy. And so school is whatever. It's easy. And and it's going well. I mean, it's going. I think is the best way to describe it. It's going. And then this magical thing called COVID comes around.
Mm-hmm.
And it sends me home.
Let's talk about that. So, you Oaks, first I want to get into like a little bit before that. Why did you decide to start posting? You made your Hungry Number 9 Instagram account. I don't know, when did you make that? Like late 2019 probably?
So me and Brevin, which is a player that we played with throughout high school, and he played at a really high level in college. So me and him always used to compete together. I mean, I think we secretly hate each other, right? But we love to compete with each other. He would, we would kind of compete in the sense of, well, I'm working out today and you're not.
Yeah.
Right? And I would post it on my original Instagram
mm-hmm.
and be like, oh, 3-mile run, like tag Brevin. You know what I mean? Tag me like, fuck you, you know where I'm going. And then I was like, I'm going to take this to a whole new account because I'm going to piss off all the people on my
high school
account.
Yeah, that like don't care, yeah.
So I made a new account. And then from then on, that's sort of, it sort of started like that.
Yeah, because I remember that's when I started seeing it and I followed it and I was like, yeah, George is putting in a lot of work. So.
And I was a lot of it was food based.
It was a lot of that. Because just you were vegan at the time too.
So I'd watched The Game Changers. You know that documentary? No, it's a heap of shit, right? Because I eat beef 3 times a day now, whatever, ridiculous. But it's basically a documentary that kind of studies the science of like being a vegan and stuff.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I'll adapt it because I was always trying to figure out a way to have an edge. Lost a bunch of weight. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to maintain, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. And then so I was at a lot of it was food based.
Yeah, okay. So let's get to March 2020, right? When, I had seen you posting and stuff, and then COVID happens. I came home from my school. You came home from England.
Absolutely.
And then I think the first time I think you probably texted me, and we played pickup a few times together at Walnut. I remember that, and down at Nipper. I think we played Geller, so we played pickup a few times. Yeah. And then I was like, I want to come train with you.
Because I was training on my own at this point.
Because you were training on your own, yeah. And I would see your videos like you're going to Anderson, and I'm home now, and I like just have an online class because COVID, but I can't go to the gym because it's closed.
Yeah.
And then so I remember I went with you on a Monday to Walnut Hills, like in early April. And then like we went the next day. And then we went the next day. And then we
didn't stop.
We didn't stop until he went back to England in August.
So it was like a good 150 days.
Yeah,
I think it was
4 months at least. Yeah, literally. The only time I think we took a day off is either when I was out of town or like maybe you were out of town. But I don't think there was a day where we.
But the thing is, I don't think we did though because it was COVID. I don't think we.
Yeah, I don't think we did because we always we just had a bunch of time too for at least the first few months because like literally everything was closed. So we would just go to McNick or wherever every day. So I want to get into this more. This training that we've done over the past few years, like the early parts of it leading up to now, like. What impact has this had on first your game, but just like your life in general?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So my game completely switched from being all based on my own natural kind of instinct, maybe natural ability where like I just did whatever I felt like might be the right thing. And I had a good first touch and like I had a good shot and I had a good pass, but it wasn't anything like out of this world, but it was enough to like get to keep going. And then once we started this, my entire game switched and it was like fitness, right? So probably, especially those early days, I probably ran, double most people.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was just run just like nonstop.
Yeah.
It was just like a marathon the whole game. Which, you look back in hindsight and you're like, wow, that's just like not very smart positionally. But that was the way that I kind of like changed my game, like ever so slightly over time. And then just us training every day, absolutely hammering in technique and first touch. I think confidence with the ball and believing in your own ability trains dramatically. Like, it was like, okay, there's a ball in the air. It's like, okay, I can just take this down, right? And then move it on. Whereas, like, in days gone by, it was like, oh, shit, there's a ball in the air. It's going to bounce off my tit and go out of bounds. And, like, there's no question about it anymore.
Yeah, you just do it.
And then when you mess up, now it's like, well, that was weird because like, I don't mess up.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was a big thing for me. Like, I struggled with those confidence problems my first 2 years in college, like on the field. And that was like the main thing I needed to fix was like get my technique a little better, get more in shape, which that helped a lot. Plus, like, just the confidence of knowing, like, dude, go out and pass the ball and turn and do like one touches, shooting, whatever, long balls, like every day. If I can do it here, like I can do it in a game. Like the pressure is like there's no pressure if you can just like be with the defender.
I think you forget also when you get maybe to this point, which you'll look back in 6 months ago, terrible, but you forget how bad your basics were, even at the age of like 17, 18, like watching videos of like trying to do like certain drills or like passing exercises or small stuff, the basics of soccer. You're like, Jesus Christ, like it's child.
Yeah, I mean, I look at videos from us like a few years ago.
You're like, oh my God, how did you even play in a game? Yeah, right. But then like you look at it now and it's all super quick and it's fast and stuff. But then you'll look at it again in 6 months and go, oh my God, how do we even play in the game?
Yeah, exactly. So that constant improvement, like always, is a big thing for sure. What about your life? Like this whole journey that we've been through.
So I think there's no doubt it's been absolutely positive because I think people look at you differently, right? I think people respect you. I think here's something. I think you can not get away with doing nothing else, but I think if people really see you putting in effort and grinding at one particular thing, then people kind of lay off you if you're not quite good enough at other stuff.
Yeah.
I think I find that as kind of, it's almost not a free pass, but it's like, well, if I train so hard at this, then like, it's okay if I'm not able to do these things with other people, right?
Yeah,
but at the same time, do I think it's all positive? I think it would be stupid to look at it like that. I mean, there's no doubt you sacrifice time with friends, you sacrifice time with family. Then again, though, I think it would drive me absolutely crazy if I didn't do those things, and I would be miserable to be with anyway.
Yeah.
So I think me not even being there, but working hard on the side is actually better than me being available for more people, but just being a dick.
Yeah. And just like, because you're just going to be pissed the whole time that you didn't go get after,
So yeah.
I think for me, like, the respect thing is huge. I think because I later made an account, my own account on Instagram, where I started posting a lot of stuff like every day, training videos and lifting, and like I'd have people, like reach out and be like, I see you've been putting in work and stuff like that. And then you get respect, like when I went back to school, from like my coaches, like saw a big transfer from like my teammates. And I think that gets built into your own character, because you're like, you take that identity as like, look, I'm gonna like outwork everybody. I'm gonna do it every day, whereas like people will do it when they feel like it.
Absolutely.
But we set the expectation, like we're just gonna do it. We just train. There's no like question about, hey, are we training today? No, it's like, what time are we doing today? There's never been that like, hey, George, do we want? No, it's like, what time? 1, 2, whatever,
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge thing. Going off this a little bit more. So we've known each other for a very long time now, and the last 3 years we've gotten very close. Like, I mean, I only have a few close friends honestly now, and like Jarch is one of them. He could probably say the same thing about me. How do you think like this friendship / like work relationship has gone, like how it has worked out so well? Because I think it has worked out.
You know what
well.
I think that we kept a good distance from each other outside of what we do day to day, because we don't hang out right? Like, we don't just, like, go and get a beer. We don't, like, go and go
out to the club.
Friend bullshit, right?
Yeah.
We don't do that stuff. So the only time we really see each other is when we're both following a similar goal and we're both trying our best at something. And I think if you're with someone trying your best at something every day, then you have more patience with them, right? If he saw me dicking around in my house, eating shit food, let's just make an example, being lazy, saying stupid shit, right? If he saw that, then I think the translation to when it really mattered would be harder.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I probably, here's something personal, I think I'd probably struggle with that with my really, really close friend, who's also called Joey, that lived with me, is he sees me every second of every day because he lives with me. But he also sees the negatives, right?
Yeah.
He sees when I'm, like, lazy, or he sees when I'm, like, not doing the things I'm supposed to. So when all the chips are down, he knows my weaknesses, where I think it's almost good that we don't see each other in our worst moments from a business aspect.
Yeah, and from
like a work aspect.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we might see each other when we're down on the field or we're down physically, but not like where it becomes too emotionally invested.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think another thing too, like I agree with that too. I mean, we don't go and do like normal friends. We don't go out and like go get a beer. I mean, and I think another thing is like we don't want to.
No.
Like you don't. I've gotten to the point where like it's like a waste of time. You know, it like
sure.
really, like going to get a beer or like going to like I don't know, do some like watch a movie or like go to a movie together or like whatever friends do. Like it's like I'd rather if we're gonna spend time together, like let's get better.
Yeah,
let's push each other.
Absolutely.
Let's have that other person that's gonna like hold you accountable and make sure that you're actually out on the field or in the gym, like
exactly
getting after.
Because you have people for those fun moments.
Yeah,
right?
you do.
Like,
yeah, you do.
You have people that you want to do those fun things with. There's certain people that I don't want to do certain things with. Right? I don't want to like go and chat shit with my mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to like go to the big game with like my teacher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, do I want to learn from my teacher? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I want to like have a nice dinner with my mom? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, there's horses for courses.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. And like, I think we both have people in our lives that we are like friends with, acquainted with, that we'll hang out with, but they don't have the same like mindset that we have, the way like we think. And I think they don't care about that stuff, which is fine, you know, if they don't want to care about like pushing yourself really hard and like, you know, restricting yourself from a lot of like quote unquote like fun normal people stuff. But I think it's so good to like have a few of those people around, but not to like bring them in. Like you're not going to bring some of your friends that don't like this stuff, bring them to the gym and have them work out with us because they're going to absolutely hate it. Yeah. Or like bring them out to play with us because it
ruins it.
Yeah, it would ruin it. Yeah, for sure. So, I was going to ask you another thing. Okay, yeah, going off that question. Yeah, you're gonna answer, then I'm gonna answer. One main reason, like, why our relationship is so strong, like I'm gonna say, like, why you are because of, like, I'm trying to, like, quote, say this right. So, like, one reason, like, why, something about, like, my personality that makes you get along with me so well, and then, like, I'm gonna answer the same thing. Like, why, something from your personality that makes us, like, get along so well.
Okay, for sure.
Because we are like very different people too. At the end of the day, you know.
I'll tell you where we get along well, and it's because I have a lot of ideas, right? And I believe I'm a very hard believer in whatever I do, and Teddy's willing to listen and try it, right? I have a lot of friends who go, "No, that's bullshit. I'm not doing that," before they even give it a go, right?
Yeah.
So if it's like soccer. You know, I might make 8 soccer drills and Teddy will try all 8 of them. Now, will he like 7 of them? Probably not. Right? But there might be one that he liked, that he tried, and that's how we've kind of gotten through this, is you're willing to be open enough to hear me out.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, personally, I think that's where it's successful.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, yeah. All right, going off from you, I think it's like, the reason like I like get along with you so well is like I just like how you're like, that you're just different from everybody. Like you're that big personality, and like I'm not like a type of person like that. Like I'll admit it. Like I'm not like a huge like loud voice in the room most of the time and stuff. But I like that about you, and I think like it brings a sense of confidence like to me that I have this person that's like will be loud about just like always putting in work. You know,
Yeah.
like loud about like we're gonna go like I'm gonna flip a tire and you're gonna run a half marathon on the track. I'm gonna flip for a mile, and we're gonna post about it. And,
Yeah.
like just be obnoxious about it.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I
yeah.
love that. And you inspired me a lot to like start my own account and like just like start creating stuff and I think the thing you said about you say this a lot. If you don't document it, like, did it really happen?
Yeah, exactly.
So like that's why you have to document. And like we've both documented like
Yeah.
videos like every day for years now of like
For
our
sure.
journey and stuff. Which
If you don't have proof, like, did that shit even happen?
Yeah, exactly. No,
I could sit here and go, oh, I ran this or I did this. But, like, if I don't have a picture, if I don't have
a video.
evidence, like...
Yeah, like benching 225. Like
Yeah.
someone saying like, oh, I benched 225 like 30 years ago.
Yeah, like, I need to see that evidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because I might look at you and be like, I don't know about that, you know? Like, all right, that was great. So, now let's talk about the Marines for a little bit.
For sure.
So Joey, I'll say this, like Joey went to school in England, right? And then after you came back in 2020.
So I went back.
And then you went back, yeah. So he went back in August. I remember that because I was here, like my college season got canceled. I didn't know what I was doing. I ended up playing for like a U23 team, which worked out well. But then you came back in like November.
Yeah.
And
so I came back because we had the COVID V2, right?
Yeah.
We had everything's open, and this is England, right? Everything's open. The summer's great. No one's in school, so no one's giving each other COVID all the time. Whatever nonsense, garbage that was. And then we're gonna go all back to university, and we're gonna be in person and all this stuff. So we go back, and then it's the winter time, and everyone gets the common cold, and then they call it COVID,
Yeah.
right? And so everyone gets sent back home again for
They
COVID.
closed the school down.
And they close the school down for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And everything is online. So I come home. And then...
We got back to work.
Yeah, we got back to work.
Yeah, and then I think you decided like...
And look, I'll be completely honest. I had to do online classes that start at 4 a.m. because of the time difference. And I'm disciplined, this for sure. But if I'm not doing something I don't like, then I struggle.
Yeah.
And I think that sums it up. I think that sums up the end of that college chapter was I wasn't willing enough to do so much shit that I didn't want to do that was inconvenienced by people out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
So
For sure.
as undisciplined as that sounds and how bad that sounds, definitely a learning experience. Would I have reacted that way again? No, but that's how it went down. So
Yeah, exactly. So the Marines had kind of all like been in the back of your mind though.
So yeah, so
right?
from being, I mean, I love war movies, I love the military, I love guns, all that nonsense. From a baby, and so the military was always like the backup plan, right? As bad as that sounds, the military was the backup plan. And I was like, obviously, I have all this mindset. I'm like, oh, I'm a tough guy, garbage. I'm like, oh, I need to do the hardest thing, right? So, of my limited knowledge of the military, when in reality, no one really knows about the military until they're in it. I was like, oh, join the Marines, right? It's the hardest branch.
Mm-hmm.
You see all the movies, you see the documentaries, all that stuff. And so I know nothing, right? I know nothing about anything. I go to the recruiting office. We have a little conversation. As they are, sleazy car salesmen, all recruiters are. Yeah, you'd be great fit, all this stuff. Fantastic, right? I want to do something really hard. I want to kick down doors, right? Do I know anything about any of this? I should have done my research completely on me. Big mistake, right? This is big mistake number 2. So I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sign a reconnaissance contract. And recon is like, for sure a step down from special forces. Don't get me absolutely wrong on that one. But it's very, very rigorous training that's kind of an offshoot of the infantry. And so I go through basic training in the Marine Corps, and if anyone that's in the Marines is watching, they know basic training in the Marine Corps is basic training in the Marine Corps, right? It sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But it's doable. It's not like the end of the world. So I go through that, and then I get sent, because I'm from the East Coast, I get sent to Camp Lejeune, which is like, and then the smaller part, which is Camp Geiger for ITB, which is Infantry Training Battalion. Because you have to complete infantry, right, before you can go to the reconnaissance. So I go there, and this is the winter of North Carolina, right? So it's fucking freezing
This
cold.
is in 2021.
Yeah, this is freezing cold, right? Yeah. Freezing cold. And as the Marines are, and as the military is, they put you and they make you stand and make you wait and make you stand and make you wait. And it's a bunch of unorganized bullshit, right? I think every person ever in the military can attest to that. So, you slowly get jaded. Don't get me wrong. I'm still an absolute boot at all of this, right? I'm still so early. But it's a heap of shit, right? I'm freezing my ass off. I hate the work because it's not like the movies. I'm ignorant about it all. We're not at war, so there's no main goal going on. So then they pull me out of training halfway through, because that's what they do. And they go, okay, you're going to recon school. Great. So I haven't finished ITB yet, which means I don't have ITB as a backup option, as in the infantry regularly. So they pull me out halfway through. They send me to California, which is great, right? California, Camp Pendleton. Brilliant. And then because of the COVID, because of the way that the military is run, the way the Marines are, and all that sweet stuff, it's horribly unorganized. Hey, you're not going to start recon school for 9 weeks, right? You're not even going to start the preliminary course to get into recon for 9 weeks. And all you're going to do is sit there and wait, right? Every single day, you're going to sit out on the bleachers outside. No matter what the weather, you're just going to sit there and wait for 9 weeks. And I don't do that shit, right? I'm not the kind of person that sits and waits for other people. Which, should I join the military? Absolutely fucking not, right? It sounds like the most ridiculous thing. But yeah, so, you sit there and wait, you sit there and wait, you sit there and wait. And then they go, okay, we're going to pick up on this class. And I'm not picked up, right? So I got to wait another 8 weeks nonsense. And I'm like, look, I'll be the first to admit it. I'm like, look, I'm not doing this. There's no way. So I'm like, how can I get out? Basically, when you're in recon school, because it's advanced infantry, you can kind of quit, right? You can be like, I refuse to train. Not refuse to train, but I can be like, I'm not doing this anymore. And they send you back to a different MOS or a different job. And I was like, look, I'm not doing this. And as much hate as I would get for that, I totally understand. All the infinite respect to all the people who go through that 1.5 pipeline of school. They're monsters, right? They're fantastic. But yeah, so, I get put in this place, and this is a very small environment of people, right? That's like Lima Company, which is all the degenerate shitheads of the military waiting to get a different MOS or waiting because they're in trouble, all this stuff. And then so I go stand in front of the master sergeant at the S1 area, whatever the case may be. I'm going to mess it up now because it's been a while. And they're like, so we're like, basically, look, we have these MOSs available. And I'm like, great, okay, I want to be an 0331, which is a machine gunner, right? We carry around a big fucking machine gun, kill people. Great. Sounds good, right? Sign me up. So I'm going to go back to infantry training, which is fun, but I'm like, great, I'll join halfway through because that's where I left off. So I get to the company and they go, we're starting you day 1, but you're not going to start for 2 weeks. So I'm back at the beginning as if I was in October, right? Like April now. So yeah, you're going to start from the beginning again. Great. So I bite my teeth, I go through it again, get to the halfway point, get a little bit past it, And then at the halfway point, they go, okay, we're going to split the battalion up into different jobs, right? So the military goes, we have our regular 11s, which are people that run in a gun and kick the doors down. We have our 31s, which are machine gunners. We have our 41, which throw mortars down a tube and kill people. And then we have our missilemen, who are really smart. And they're, this is a big sign-up list for everything. And I'm obviously signed up as a 31 because I thought that's what my contract was. Now, was my contract 31? No, it wasn't. Great, so they messed up again. It was 03XX, which is 03, you don't know. You get chosen on sign-up day, right? So I look on the thing, because I've got a good fitness score and I have a decent ASVAB, which is like a test. They've put me as a 41, which is a mortarman, because it's a little bit more intricate. And I'm like, look, I can't do math, right? I'm bone dead, right? So I'm like, I can't this is nonsense. I want to be a 31. I want to mow people down with a machine gun, right? Let's be honest. And so I'm like, look, can I be like, let's switch this. Like, what's going on here? And you're not a recruit, but you're in training. They don't give a shit, right? Yeah. They don't give a shit. Why would they, right? They get tens of thousands of these dumbass kids a year. And so, okay, you're trained as a 41 now. Great. Didn't want to do that. Now, here's the absolute moment, the bumper sticker moment.
When you were like, I'm done.
When I'm like, no, this is when I get screwed one more time. Will I take full accountability? Should I have done this? Absolutely not, right? So about halfway through at this point, they go, hey, we're going to do an unanimous survey, right?
We're going to do an
anonymous survey.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. We're going to do a survey, and it's because they legally have to do it because there's so much hazing, there's so much bullshit that goes on. We got to see how everyone's doing. How's the morale? Like, let's have a survey. Are you guys being treated well? Is the food okay? Is all this stuff. Like human resources stuff.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of us, right? Because, like I said before, big personality doesn't fit in that environment. Fill it out exactly how I feel. Am I rude? Not at all. But do I fill it out exactly how I feel? We've been hazed doing this. They've taken away our food multiple times when they shouldn't have. They've randomly woken us up ridiculous times for no reason. They made us drag our packs around in the dirt for no reason. And none of it's really, I totally understand the discipline and all the training and all that stuff, but you're doing stuff that's just destroying people's mental health and morale.
Yeah.
And
because there's no why.
There's no why. There's no reason. It's like, hey, it's 11:30. You have to get up at 4, but we're gonna make you stand in formation and drag your pack around to different spots of the light where the pole is, for no reason, just because we can, and it's gonna really hurt, and it's gonna just destroy everyone. Everyone's gonna hate each other because no one's doing everything right, and everyone's tired and stuff. So I feel this story.
You feel it all honestly.
Completely honestly, right? And it's unanimous.
That's what they said.
The next day, I get this Archer, right? Because I talked about it. And I'm standing there with a fucking helmet on, like an idiot. Archer! I'm like, oh Christ. They didn't know my name at this point, right? I was just flying under the radar, as you should, in the military. And I had run over like a dipshit. And they're like, they destroy me in front of everyone. You piece of shit, you're going to try and get all these people fired. These are all veterans. These are all war heroes. Nonsense, trying to make me feel bad, whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? What did I sign up for? Anyway, so they hate me. Oh my God, they hate me so bad. So now I went from being a nobody to these instructors.
And it's all like the people, the higher
the instructors hate me,
Yeah.
right? And they try at any moment to obviously say horrible things, and then they get the other students around me to be horrible to me too, right? So you're walking, they trip you, they walk, because they're sheep, right? They're herd mentality. Because the big dog had a dick swinging around, then now we have to suck it, right? All this stuff, and I'm just like, fuck, I'm screwed in this. And then we have testing day, right? And you've got to pass your weapon system test. And I'm like, God damn it. I'm a dumbass. First of all, I'm not very good on this weapon system because I don't want to do this. And everyone hates me. And this is woe is me, right? But and then the instructor I'm getting to grade this absolutely hates me. So he fails me, right?
Yeah.
Great. Fails me on something because I didn't have a box shut, which has nothing to do with the weapon. And I'm like, what am I gonna do now, right? And they kick me out. They send me back to this limo with all these shitheads, and I'm like, oh Christ. And I might join halfway through, whatever. They go, you're starting day one again, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this.
No,
There's no way
Yeah,
I'm not doing this. And then so
you don't have to tell the whole story about how you like.
I'm willing to go like as far as I need to go, but I'm basically like, look, I'm not doing this anymore. There's no way.
It's pretty crazy. I've heard it.
And so I had a couple meetings with a couple career counselors, we can put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, look, I'm done. Give me a dishonorable, I don't care.
Yeah.
Now, did I get lucky enough to get an honorable discharge somehow? Yes. But get me out of this. I'm done. And they go, okay, file the paperwork. I'm sitting with these morons for 3 months. Now, some of them are great guys and I love them, and I got a couple buddies that I still keep in contact with. And then I get out and I'm a free man. And it's been the best year of my life. Right.
Yeah, since you've been back. And yeah, so
that was that, yeah.
That was crazy. No, that I've heard the entire like full detail, which honestly he probably shouldn't talk about and put it on the internet, but it's pretty crazy. And I think now you realize that how grateful you are just like every day to wake up and be at home and like be able to just like go out and play and go to the gym whenever you want to and hang out. Yeah, you know, I think you realize like,
oh my God, dude, the freedom to just go and make your own food out of the fridge.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
The basics.
Yeah.
The ability to have a relationship with a person that's not a man.
Yeah.
Not weird, but like I can go talk to a girl and not like worry. Or like I'd be able to see someone that's a different gender and I'm not just surrounded by a bunch of cocks.
Yeah, for real.
You know what I mean? So
I do.
I'm very lucky.
So that was crazy. So when did you? It was like April, May. It was like May of 20. It was last year.
Yeah.
So you get out in May, right? And then we hadn't really been in contact for like a while because obviously you were gone. You left in like I remember it was early August of 2021. We had been getting me ready to go back to school for my preseason and for my college season, which was fantastic. And then you left, and then you didn't have your phone for a while. Mm-hmm. I remember when you said like I broke my ankle in 2020, and in October of 2021, you had like no idea until one day you just saw your phone and saw a post, and you're like, "Oh, he's done forever," you know, like you said.
Yeah.
And then you're still in there, and then you get out and. Last summer when I was here playing for the Dutch Lions, and then we reconnected, and you were like, I'm trying to get back into the game, and I'm like, I want my old training partner back.
For sure.
I was at school obviously for the whole last year, but I got back in May, and I was playing with the team, but people to train with, we just have, again, I think we just have a special like work relationship / just like friendship that is different than most other people that I train with. Like, I don't mind training with other people at all, but there's just the way we get along and like can just like figure stuff out and just like read each other's minds about, we're gonna do this. I was like, I want that because I come back to play another season. I want to be like as ready as possible, right? And then I think we reconnected in like the middle of June last year. I think it was around then, and then we absolutely put it in until I left. And I'll say like in 2021, like after my USL2 season ended, and then last summer, that like month period before I went back to school, like for both years, were like those are like the favorite times of my entire life. Like honestly, like we literally wake up, like train like either like once or twice a day, and then like we just go to the gym, and it's summertime, and there's like, at least for me, like obviously like you didn't have that like getting ready for a season, but I always had that like I have to be like as ready as possible. Like I want to like win. And I think you like just knew that we just like needed to get me ready, and you were just willing to.
The good thing is I had no expectations for myself, right? It was just like, okay, let's get this guy going.
Yeah, and that was so great for me, you know, just to have someone like, even though you're not really like playing for a team right now, just willing to come out every day and just like put it in, you know.
For sure.
which like I absolutely love and respect. So, yeah. So I mean, you've been back, just doing your thing. We've been getting after it like this entire year since I graduated. I think we've both made a lot of progress. I think we're both learning a lot of stuff, like getting more discipline and just like learning new stuff and like how to be better and how to be like more successful. And I mean, obviously, like I started my own YouTube channel, got this, we're starting this up now, and and then now you're going back to England in September. So let's talk about that a little bit. How and why you decided to do that.
So okay, that's a good question. So yeah. So I'd say at my best of my abilities physically right now. I'd say I've probably never been better at soccer, better in the gym than now, which is fantastic. I'm so grateful that I got that experience to come back from all that stuff. Now, did I finish? I didn't finish what I started when I was in England the first time.
Yeah.
So kind of that unfinished business, kind of proven that I look at it truthfully, not to be corny, I do look at it as my last dance, right? It's my last chance to go get a good education, to go play sports one more time, to go live a young person's life one more time.
Yeah.
And I've made plenty of mistakes, plenty of big ones. And this is my like come to Jesus last dance moment.
Yeah. It's like you've like done these different things, failed at them, but you've learned a lot. And that's like the biggest thing is like you can fail at stuff, but like you got to learn from. We were talking about that earlier about someone close to me.
Yeah, you just can't keep failing.
Yeah, you can't keep failing and then just doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? So like you know like your weakness has always been like school. You know, we can say that. Right? Education, it has been like your entire life. So, but if you can realize like how to do it a little differently.
For sure, and it'll be completely different.
It'll be good, yeah, exactly. And you've already been over there and stuff, so that experience is going to be really interesting to know. Yeah, so we're moving on there. So yeah, we only have a few months left together to really put the work in. So we've talked about your life, kind of like the lessons you've learned, your childhood, pretty much everything. Now let's dive a little bit more into mindset, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. So let's talk about David Goggins. Let's talk about the man, David the man. So, talk to me about David, like when you first found him, and then the influence that he's had on your life and others. Yeah, others. I mean, I think you've taken inspiration from David and you've put it in your own life, and then that's impacted like my life and other people, and then I've done and impacted others. Just like a big like
chain.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I ran into David Goggins' content. God, early 2018.
Yeah.
So I was in high school still, and I was watching the Joe Rogan, and there was a guy. It wasn't even David. It was a guy who was like, "Oh, I was running this stage race with a couple of buddies where we were running 25 miles each, and there was 4 of us, so we could get 100 miles in, and." I was like the third guy, so I was at like mile 80 or 75 or whatever the case may be. And I came across this guy whose feet were bleeding. He looked messed up, and he looked at him and he goes, "You having a rough like 20 miles?" And he goes, "I'm at 80 miles, motherfucker." And I was like, "Who is that? Like, I have to know who this guy is, right?" And then the name came out later that it was David Goggins, and then you fall down the rabbit hole of David, and you realize that, wow, there is so much more being left on the table that people don't realize. And I think that's his overall message is, I don't even think you're 50% there.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the gym today, and it was like, I was working out with someone, and I'm like, you do 5 more reps. And they did 3 or 4. And then like we finished, they stopped for a second, and then they did 4 or 5 more just like as a joke. And I was like,
yeah,
we clearly have more left in you.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but that's sort of life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's more to give. There's more in you than you think. And I think it's really hard to not get really frustrated with people when you can see that they have a lot more in the tank than they
especially
actually.
like people that can have like you can see have potential but keep shooting themselves in their foot.
Absolutely.
In the foot. Like they're the reason like their lives are bad because they make dumb decisions. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, no, David's been a big impact on my life too. And I remember when you showed me him, it was in 2020. I think we were like driving back from like UC one day when we trained, and you put on Can't Hurt Me in the car.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I watched the Rogan podcast, and I fell down and read the books and like watched all the Instagram. Like a huge fan. So David's been an absolute inspiration for both of us. But like we absolutely love him. So going off of that, I want to talk a little bit more about, like, honestly, not the state of America, but the state of, like, the average person.
The culture, yeah.
Like, I think it's, like, for most people, it's just trying to do things to, like, please other people. Yeah. And not being, like, your actual self, where it's like, hey, instead of, like, doing what I'm supposed to, I'm just gonna, like, go out and, like, just drink because I feel like it. Where I think for you, this is really interesting because, again, like, you were, like, a popular, loved hanging out with people in high school, loved going out and, like, doing all your stuff with your friends and stuff like that, and now it's, like, you actively choose, like, not to do that stuff, which I think the change is, like, crazy, you know? Because most people would be, like, if they were like you, they would just continue that.
Yeah.
Like having all the friends, you know, meeting girls and talking to girls and whatever, but you like actively choose to like not go out. You don't drink. Just kind of like why? Why is that for you?
So I think you can look at it as like a bigger thing. That's the issue with modern culture, especially with men. Is that we have, and I'm going to say this without any really filter, but we have this weak ass culture, right? Weak ass men, like they say, making weak ass decisions, making it harder for everyone else. And people just aren't willing to sacrifice small pleasures for a greater purpose anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I want to be a fat ass and go get an ice cream. But, like, it's going to take 10 minutes to eat that ice cream, right?
We were talking about
we were
talking about that earlier.
It's going to take 4 hours in the gym to burn that motherfucker off.
Yeah.
Now think about that with life,
mm-hmm.
right? I'm going to go out and party and have a great time and I'm going to drink and I'm going to have sex and all this stuff and great. So I'm going to drink, right? I'm going to ruin my sleep. I'm going to make bad decisions because that's what you do when you're drunk.
Yeah.
I'm going to hang around with people who aren't making me better, who don't care really. So all of a sudden, you're just making yourself worse, whereas I get a good meal, early night's sleep, all of a sudden, when the chips are down and everything really matters, I want to be here, they're there.
Yeah, for sure. Over time especially, yeah.
Exactly. So, people aren't willing to sacrifice little things over a long period of time for a greater result.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I completely agree, yeah, for sure. And I think that this last question I was going to ask you was like the daily decisions are like so important. I think a lot of people overlook that, where they just think like, oh, it's okay today if I don't go to the gym. It's just one day. But that one day turns into 5 because you skip half of your workouts.
Yep.
And then after 6 months, you could have looked like this, but instead you look worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for everything, right? Like,
and you've mentally burdened yourself too, because you make yourself feel bad self-consciously.
Oh yeah, for sure, yeah.
So
you don't trust your own self. Yeah. You don't trust yourself, yeah, for sure. Like you say to yourself you're gonna do this one thing, but then you don't. And
absolutely,
that destroys confidence. Unlike doing what you're supposed to do, that just continuously like builds confidence.
Absolutely,
100%, yeah. So final question is, the daily grind, like how important is it to become successful? Because I think we both are like the embodiment of like just the daily grind.
I think this is interesting. I think we've figured out how to be on the daily grind of a specific thing. Have we figured out the daily grind of a successful life monetarily? Relationship-wise? Not yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
But we've made the foundation on how to attain those things one day.
For sure.
So
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
It's all practice for the greater thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So going to the gym and playing soccer, right? If you just take those two things out of context, they mean nothing.
Yeah.
Right. But you've shown up every day. You've taken care of yourself. You get married. You show up every day. You take care of the other person. That's your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a successful marriage. You got work. You show up every day. You take care of yourself. You'll be successful at work.
Mm-hmm.
You have a child. You show up every day. You take care of him or her. You'll be successful.
Yeah.
But you've built all those things at a young age, going to the gym, playing soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like the daily, yeah. Again, we have. I mean, yeah, we have figured out success in a few things, but definitely not everything at all. I mean, we're both young and naive still. I mean, 100%. So
we'll make plenty more bad decisions.
yeah, we will, and we'll learn
I'm sure.
from them and fail and learn and fail and keep learning and stuff like that. So, Joey, I think
Fantastic.
we're gonna wrap it up there. That was
Perfect.
absolutely fantastic. So, guys. Thanks for watching. First episode with Joey was absolutely fantastic.
Good.
Honestly, we've never done anything like this. Kind of sit down. I mean, obviously we talk all the time, but sit down for like a really long, extended period of time and just talk about everything that we like embody and try to be like. So,
Yep.
I appreciate it, Joey.
Good stuff.
All right.
Thanks.
We'll see you guys in the next one.